With Renegades right around the corner, I wanted to do a series leading up to it going over the best builds for each class and subclass. If you're a new or returning player, I really hope these videos can help get you started, as some of these builds are pretty crazy now. All of these builds are going to be made so you can use whatever weapons you would like to, but I will go over some recommendations that fit with each subclass. On top of that, these builds are not going to be taking advantage of any artifact perks, so you have a clean slate once Renegades launches. I am going to be recording these builds ahead of time, so if any patches come out to change this around, I will update the description down below. As a final note, there are a lot of great builds in Destiny, so if you have one that's similar to this one or even better, definitely be sure to drop it in a comment down below. Again, as this series is to give a place for new returning players to get back into the game a lot quicker. So with all that being said, if you enjoy, learn anything new, and are excited for Renegades, consider doing all the normal YouTube stuff. All of the support is what allows me to make series like this for you all, and I truly appreciate all the love that you show. But without further ado, let's jump into today's build. All right, everyone, we made it to the final Strand build, and this one's going to be all about the Threat Runner or the Strand Hunter. With this build, we're going to be taking advantage of the exotic Speed Loader Slacks, which has the exotic perk Tight Fit. Dodging instantly reloads all your weapons and grants increased load speed and handling to you and nearby allies. While this buff is active, additional dodges increase the buff strength and refresh the timer, maxing out at 5 stacks. Dealing sustained damage grants class ability energy. So if I'm being completely honest with you here, the only main part of this exotic we're using is the dealing sustained damage grants class ability energy. As you see here, literally just doing any damage, you're just going to be able to generate class ability energy. This is very, very good in harder content because obviously you're not going to be able to get kills quite a lot. So using literally any gun will just be able to generate this class ability energy for you. Now, with that being said, if you want to take something like Radiant Dance Machines, because this will also basically just give you a bunch of class ability, but you do have to get primary ammo kills, which it makes it a little limited in harder content. So Speed Loader Slacks, in my opinion, is a better play, even though you are literally just taking advantage of the last part here. The other stuff really doesn't matter at all. Now, the reason we want to actually be able to get our class ability back a lot is because of our first aspect, Ensnaring Slam. Activate your air move to consume your class ability energy and dive to the ground, suspending all nearby targets on impact. Suspending enemies with this ability grants you Woven Meld. So this ability actually got buffed to now grant Woven Meld, which is very, very good for your survivability. So you can, since you can spam this all the time now, you're gonna be able to suspend targets all the time and have pretty much permanent Woven Meld depending on the amount of targets that you do suspend. So the fact that the enemies are literally just in the air while you also have crazy damages, as you see, we got 12 seconds of Woven Meld there. You're going to be able to be pretty much unkillable, while also really helping your team out because it's a spin, and the spin will also stun unstoppable champions, so that's pretty good to know. And kind of like it'll stun barriers because they kind of just sit in the air for a little bit, but it will stun a stop, and since you can spam it all the time, again, permanent Woven Meld and permanent crowd control, which is very, very good. Now, our next aspect is actually going to be Whirling Maelstrom. Destroying a Tangle will weave a violent, writhing mass of strand fibers. The strand mass seeks out and damages targets, emitting unraveling projectiles when it defeats them. So essentially now, every time you make a Tangle, which will be all the time because you can spin a target, kill it, you can then make a Tangle, you can basically throw this and you're going to create this just crazy good ad clear thing that's just going to fly around the map. And since you can make these literally all the time because you're going to be able to spin enemies all the time, pretty much off the cooldown, you're going to be able to have another one. You're going to be able to ad clear a lot with this build. This will spread Unravel around as well, which is very, very good as well. And overall, it is just very, very good. Now, with that being said, if you don't want to run Whirling Maelstrom, there's a couple things you can actually play into. If you want to take Widow Silk literally just for a second grenade, you could do that. Or you could even take Threaded Spectre, because this will actually work with things like Ensnaring Slam. However, with Threaded Spectre, it does increase your survivability, but since you're going to be able to just suspend targets and grant the Woven Meld, nothing's going to shoot you and you have crazy damage reduction. I don't particularly think you need Threaded Spectre, and playing into Whirling Maelstrom is a lot better in my opinion because you just kill all the things that you do suspend a lot easier. But if you want to play into Threaded Spectre, you could totally do that as well. It's totally up to you. Now, before we jump into the fragments, I do want to talk about abilities real quick. First off, we're going to be running the Shackle Grenade. This is just a suspend grenade. It literally works the exact same as your class ability. You can just throw it and you will be able to suspend targets. Pairing that with your class ability, you can suspend enemies quite a lot with the setup. Now, for the melee, you do have to take Threaded Spike, but this is honestly a pretty good melee because you can throw it. It's going to sever a bunch of targets and make them do reduced damage. And when it's coming back to you, you can actually grab it and you get a bunch of your melee energy back if you do catch it at the right time. So basically all those enemies are doing less damage. Again, if you haven't suspended, it's not like too important because they already don't do damage to you, but it's whatever. Now, for the class ability, you can either run Marksman or Gambler's Dodge. Gambler's will just let you get your Threaded Spike back, which is cool. But in all honesty, I really like Marksman Dodge with this build. One, it has a lower cooldown, but you can also basically Ensnaring Slam and it's going to reload all your weapons. As you see, we can shoot here a little bit, and we just go for an ensnaring slam. All of that's reloaded, and now your other gun's reloaded. So, and since you can spam this all the time, you want to do that anyway to suspend everything all the time. Now you just never really have to worry about reloading your gun either. It's a super fast-paced and fluid build because you never have to really stop and reload because your dodge is doing it for you. And then for the super, you do have to run Silk Strike, which isn't like the greatest super in the game. It's not bad. It's, you know, it's pretty decent like ad clear scenarios, and you can also use something like your ensnaring slam while you're in your super. So even if you don't want to use it for damage, you can just straight up suspend everything for your team, which is pretty funny to watch. But and then you can just let your team kill everything. But now let's actually take a look at the fragments. And the first main one is going to be Threat of Mind. So defeating a suspended target grants class ability energy. This is a no-brainer to take. Obviously, we're going to be trying to spam class ability all the time. So now all the suspended targets are making, well, you can get more class ability energy off of them. Next up is going to be Threat of Wisdom. Defeating suspended targets creates an orb of power. This is also very good because, again, the whole point of the build is suspending. So now you can make an orb, and those orbs play into things like armor charge and a bunch of other things with the armor mods. Next up is going to be Threat of Generation. So dealing damage generates grenade energy. Everything in the build will be able to do this. So now not only are you going to be able to spam your class ability suspend, you can also spam your grenade suspend as well. And then finally, it is just going to be Threat of Continuity. So suspend, unravel, and cypher effects applied to targets have increased duration. Since the whole point of the build is to suspend, you can keep suspended targets up a lot more often now, which is nice with these two. Plus, also, you are playing into unravel and sever. Your melee will sever. You have unravel from Morley Maelstrom, so you're kind of getting the triple threat benefit here, which is nice. So Threat of Continuity is getting a lot of value, but the main value is going to come from that suspend lasting longer, just so you can crowd control a lot more often. But now jumping into the armor, for these stats, there's nothing too crazy that you need to get to 200 with this setup. First off, you are going to want to run 100 class so you can get as much class ability as possible. If you want to play into more to get the overshield, you can, but again, you're getting woven meld and stuff, and enemies aren't going to shoot you, so I don't really think you need the overshield trying to get to 200 class, but I mean, if you want to, you can. But 100 class, you're for sure going to want, so you can get as much energy as possible. I like taking 100 grenade with this setup because you can spam your shackle grenade a lot more often as well, pairing that with Threat of Generation. And then for the last set, I would probably just recommend going into weapons. If you can get this to 200 with 100 on class and 100 on grenade, that's probably going to be your best bet because this is a very weapon focused build. You're going to be killing stuff with weapons since your abilities are mainly just utility focused. And then for everything else, I mean, melee doesn't matter. Your super isn't the greatest. That really doesn't matter. These are the three base stats you definitely want to look out for. Now for the armor mods, this is what I'm running if you like to copy them down, but as a closer look, I do run a siphon mod so I can make orbs with my weapon. You can swap this out for whatever weapon you're getting the most kills with. I then run a heavy ammo finder just so I can make some more heavy, and then a dynamo so I get reduced super cooldown whenever I use my class ability on targets. Obviously, we're doing that all the time so we can suspend them. This will actually work with Ensnaring Slam. So if you want to take a double dynamo, you can, but there are diminishing returns if you double up on these things. So that's why I opt to usually not do it, but it's totally up to you. If you want to take double dynamo, you can as well. Now for our arms, I do like to take a loader mod so I can reload the weapon a lot more often. This is not super needed because again, your dodge can also reload your weapons and stuff, so like it's not crazy good. But the other thing is the other mods also aren't crazy good on the arms either. With bolster detonation, moment to transfer, it's decent because whenever you deal damage with your grenade, you'll get some class ability and melee cooldown. And since your shackle grenade will actually do a little damage, it will proc these mods. So if you want to double dip into something like bolster and detonation to get even more class ability energy, you could totally do that as well. But it's up to you. I just like the loader just in case I do ever have to reload. Now for the chest piece, go over to the mods, swap this out for whatever content you're going into. Then for the boots, I like to run double recuperation. So when I pick an orb up, I will heal 70 HP. This is very good for your survivability. Again, with targets not really shooting you, you having woven mel in these two mods, you're going to be able to live quite a while. And then absolution, so if I pick an orb up, I'll get energy for everything. This is great because you're actually going to get a hefty amount of class ability energy. It actually gives you more class ability than what insulation does, which I know is crazy. It's just like 1% more. But on top of that, you're also going to be getting grenade energy back as well, which is what you want. And then for the class item, we're actually swapping it up a little bit. I am taking a bomber, so whenever I use my class ability, I will get some grenade cooldowns, kind of just go back into spamming that grenade to spin a lot more often. But then powerful attraction, so I can pick all the orbs up around me when I use my class ability. Again, you're going to be able to do this all the time. And then I like to run special finishers so I can make more special ammo. Since it is a weapon focused build, you can actually run your special quite a lot. And again, since we are running Sweet Loader Slacks, this means your special weapon can actually generate you class ability energy, unlike Radiant Dance Machines, so you can actually take advantage of this a lot more often. But now speaking of weapons, this build is truly one of those where you can run whatever you want to. Like I said in the beginning, all these builds I'm making are like that, but this one is just very like that because it is literally just put a weapon on. Obviously, I'm running kind of the meta here with retrograding here at Apex, but you can swap this out for whatever champion mods or whatever is in the current meta, anything that'll synergize with the artifact. It is totally up to you. If you just like a specific weapon, you can run it with the setup, because again, the whole goal is basically just make everything not be able to do anything, while you could just kind of sit there and kill them really easy with whatever you want to do. So just run with what you like and it will still be a blast. Now jumping to the set bonuses with this build, there's honestly a lot you can use. I know that's probably shocking to hear, because most of the time it's only like a couple things. Since this is a very weapon focused build, you can run something like a Bushido if you're running a specific, you know, auto rifle scout. You can run Disaster Corps if you're running kinetic. You can run tech set. All of that is going to be very, very good. If you want to run the normal smoke jumper set, you can also do that as well. The 2-piece aim adapter, obviously, you can also do that as well. Those are just the 2 best in the game. Those are going to be very, very good. But collective psyche, you can also run, because this is going to make your suspend, unravel, and sever effects last longer. They have increased duration, and pairing that with something like threat of continuity, you're basically just kind of doubling up on that. And so basically all the effects that you're doing, again, you're doing all 3 of these with this build, they're just going to last even longer. So if you really, really want to play to suspend even more, I would highly recommend trying to get a 4-piece collective psyche set, because that is just going to be very, very strong. But no, it is not super necessary. And if you just want to run the normal, you know, 2-piece aim adapter, 2-piece smoke jumper, you're still going to be very well off as well. But now for the final part of the build, this is the Transmog guys running. I went with the same theme as like the poison strand kind of shader going on here, but the thought process here was have like a rogue fallen, like rugged look. Overall, I think it turned out looking pretty cool. I think it will fit the theme of Renegades pretty well. So if you want to make your hunter look like this, definitely be sure to copy it down. Anyway, so that's going to do it all for this build. Let me know what you all think about it down in the comments below. So when Strand Hunter came out, I honestly loved the suspend build back then. You had to run things like 6 Cody to get a double dodge, and then it went to things like Radiant Dance Machines when they buffed those, and now we're on to Speed Loader Slacks. So this build keeps changing exotics. Speed Loader Slacks for sure is the best setup for this. If you are taking it into in-game content, it is extremely good. Overall, the build still plays the same as back then, but you get way more energy now. You get woven mail now as well, so it makes it a lot better in harder content, and I think y'all are going to enjoy it. Anyway, so that's going to do it all for me and the Strand builds. We have 3 more videos to go, and that's going to be going over all the solo builds, so be on the lookout for those. I want to thank you all so much for watching, and hope y'all have a great day. Peace.